Hello again, guys. This will be Module 2 on the American Revolution. We're keeping in mind our focus question, which is how do new ideas spark revolution? I know you guys watched Module 1. This will be Module 2, where we talk about the gist of the meat and potatoes of the revolution. So we're going to go ahead and begin with It Begins. Before that, I do want to explain to you the songs, why you hear the songs playing in the background. Um, the last song you heard me playing was It's Too Late to Apologize, and they remixed it to the American Revolution. So you can go ahead on YouTube and look that up and just you type in It's Too Late to Apologize American Revolution and you'll hear it. But we'll also listen to it in class just for fun. This song that I'm going to play is actually a Nickelback song. It's called Edge of a Revolution. Okay? Going back to our Prezi. So the revolution begins. You might hear my baby in the background. Say hi, Mama.
Hi, Mama.
So, if you look at this photo of King George, right? Or you look at this photo of the colonists taking down King George. This is the statue of King George here. Okay. Around him are the colonists kind of pulling at his statue. You see one with a hammer here. You see some actually trying to reach out and say, no, don't pull him down. Others throwing their hat at him. So for one of your questions, I don't want to give away the answer, but others look like they're in fear. But I want you guys to kind of really look at this picture and look at all the different people and the way they're acting, and kind of decipher, how do you think this picture talks about the way people felt about the American Revolution? Here's the Declaration of Independence, and this is a pretty popular quote, and it reads, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights," and inalienable means natural to human beings, "that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Sound familiar? If you think back to when we talked about Locke, Locke said that human rights, essential human rights, are life, liberty, and happiness. So the founders of this Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson, actually took from Locke these ideas that humans have a natural want for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And these are natural to them, and they should all have access to it. And that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. In other words, to make sure that that all men can pursue their rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that's what government is supposed to be for. And that government derives or gets all of its powers from the people. Okay, so this talks about just the main differentiation between the British Army and the Continental Army, also known as the colonists. The British Army were pretty organized. They were an actual army, keep in mind. The British had to fight local militias that used guerrilla warfare. While the British is an organized army, the colonists kind of had to pull whatever they can find together, and they used militias. This is untrained military. They fought guerrilla warfare, meaning not fair. They hid in bushes and ambushed the British. So they fought using tactics that were really not considered fair. Meanwhile, the Continental Army struggled to keep its recruits and to pay them wages. Why? Because we didn't have a full government set up, meaning we couldn't really tax people, meaning we were broke. We didn't have money to pay soldiers. Last, British were not united at home, meaning some wanted to grant American independence, some didn't. At the end of the day, the British lose and they surrender at the Battle of Yorktown, largely because the French helped us, and they helped us a lot. So now here comes this question of developing a constitution. First, we need to decide what kind of government we wanted. We decided we want a federal government. Federalism is just a system that divides power between the federal national government and state governments. Basically, we didn't want another king. We didn't want another King George bossing us around and telling us what to do. So we had to make sure we had federalism to break up those powers. How we did that was by using the branches: the legislative branch, the executive branch, the judicial branch. The legislative branch would compose the law, create the laws, to legislate the laws. The executive branch was headed by the president and the vice president. They would enforce the laws and make sure they're being followed. The judicial branch would hear cases involving those laws. So if anybody ever broke a law, the judicial branch was there to hear them out. This federal system that I just explained is called checks and balances. in addition to the Constitution kind of laying out our type of government, the Bill of Rights was needed to ensure our freedoms, to guarantee our freedoms. The Bill of Rights is known as the 12 Amendments to the Constitution. You've heard them before. The freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of press, the right to bear arms, to be protected against unreasonable searches. That's why people usually ask for a search warrant from police officers. Trial by jury, due process of law, following that process of law, and the protection of property rights. This is all guaranteed by our Bill of Rights, and we're very lucky citizens to have them, in fact. So just to review and just to go over everything that we've learned that revolutions don't just happen out of the blue. They don't come out of the sky. They are a process that eventually builds up. We've learned that the British were taxing Americans, and it was really hard to maintain a government from 3,000 miles away. We learned that colonists were fed up, and maybe the way they handled things wasn't completely right. They were a little violent, but the British retaliated with violence, and it just led to a really messy situation. We've learned that the British had a really organized army, and that the militia really wasn't prepared to take on the British. And really, without the French, we would have lost the American Revolution, and you and I would be speaking in British accents right now. Maybe Alexis could do that a little bit better for me. And we also learned that because of our independence from Britain, we were able to create a government that we still follow today, a federalist government with separations of powers by the branches, and with freedoms granted by our Constitution and by our amendments. Don't forget to complete your notes, drag them into your folder, and save your folder. I'll see you guys tomorrow.